much for gracing the panel.
Yeah.
And Chaitanya ji, brother Chaitanya ji is the next panelist. And then we have Miss Priyanka Bhatkoti. And yeah,
Yes.
so
Now
a
that we are
minute.
allow me to begin.
All right.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I, Kuhika Dhingra, welcome you all to the 12th episode of the web series Decoding NEP 2020, brought to you by Edudevs School of Inspired Teaching and Learning in association with Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham University. Continuing our discussion on the dynamic reforms in the national education policy regarding higher education in India, today our esteemed panelists and moderator will deliberate about higher ed, opportunities and challenges ahead. We are grateful to welcome Ms. Priyanka Bhatkoti, Principal, Maxford School, Dwarka, on our panel today. An acclaimed educationist, she is keenly involved in the development of curriculum and assessment at CBSE. An eminent resource person for training educators, she has also been the recipient of Catalyst Award for Excellence in Education. Ms. Bhatkoti is greatly renowned for her paramount teaching experience and innovative methodologies. We welcome you, ma'am. We are honored to welcome Dr. Devendra Pathak, Vice Chancellor, Uttaranchal University, on our panel today. Dr. Pathak has more than 30 years of teaching experience in India and UK. Serving as a Vice Chancellor in many universities, he has also been awarded the Indira Gandhi Excellence Award for Outstanding Achievement in Higher Education. Dr. Pathak's expertise in the management of higher education systems and procedures alongside his international exposure in teaching economics is an established benchmark of excellence. We welcome you, sir. I'm delighted to introduce you to our esteemed panelist, Maheshwara Chaitanya ji, Chairman of the Undergraduate Admissions of the School of Engineering, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham University. Maheshwara ji has more than 15 years of teaching experience in the field of computer science and engineering. A dynamic expert in his field, Chaitanya ji also serves as the contest director for International Collegiate Programming Contest. His humility, expertise, and ideologies continue to inspire us all. We are honored to welcome you, sir. I heartily welcome our moderator for the session, education evangelist, Ms. Devyani Kapoor. A former principal, author, and passionate edu leader, Ms. Kapoor carries over 3 decades of experience in the education sector. A pragmatic thought leader, she is the founder and CEO of Edudevs School of Inspired Teaching and Learning. Accredited for introducing numerous innovative pedagogical techniques, Ms. Kapoor has created new benchmarks in the field of education. Welcome, ma'am. Once again, I welcome all of you who have just joined the session, and now I hand over the baton to our moderator, Ms. Devyani Kapoor.
Thank you so much, Kuhika, and a heartwarming welcome to all our esteemed panelists today. With the overwhelming response to our last episodes, in fact, we wanted to have only 2 for the higher ed, but because of the responses, we will now take deliberations forward to the road ahead in higher ed, and this time it is delving into the challenges that mar the higher ed institutions and the opportunities that lay within. Reviving higher education in India has seen a dramatic increase, say from about a few universities to a few thousand universities in the capacity of higher education sector in the last 2 decades. I have in front of me some figures that I will quote and that are very indicative of that what an experiential growth that we have seen in higher education. With the gross enrollment ratio, it was 26.3 percentage. We are close to achieving and this was in 2008, we are close to achieving 32% GER by 2022. There are certain challenges that mar the university's higher education and the processes related. Some of them like low employability of graduates, poor quality of teaching, weak governances, sufficient funding, insufficient funding, some complex regulatory norms. They may seem jargons to us at this point, but let us now delve into what exactly they mean and why are we talking about them. So, my ice-breaking question starts from here. Now, let me introduce you to our three rounds. First is the ice-breaking round, where each panelist gets a time limit of 2 minutes, and panelists, please adhere to the time limit. We start with Dr. Pathak, then Brother Maheshwar Chaitanya, followed by Ms. Priyanka Bhattoti. Second round is our specialized round where each panelist gets one or two questions and we seek their perspective and insights on the same topic. And the last but not the least is our Q&A round where our audience seek their queries from our esteemed panelists. So moving out to our ice breaking and continuing our ice breaking question from my introduction, I would request panelists to very quickly and briefly let our audience know what in your perspective are the two most important challenges and what could be the opportunities that lie within for the higher education in India. So moving on to Dr. Pathak. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. My distinguished panelists, really it's a privilege for me. For me, the higher education has all along been receiving the big brickbats. And it has been one of the most significant contributors for the knowledge economy, which is very, very important, crucial, and critical for India. There's two aspects that I feel: the concern of the parents and the students. From their perspective only I'll speak. So one is efficacy of the output, and the second is value for the money. Efficacy of the output, I mean, a student, he wants that my output, when I say pass out, what will be my efficacy? Whether I will be acceptable to the society and to the industry, or will I be able to stand on my own? Will I be able to have a startup? And second, the parent who has invested this much of money, he is expecting that how he is going to get back the return on investment. And the students were equally worried. Now these are the polars. But then the real question is that we as a custodian of the higher education, really, honestly speaking, we have simply churning out a brigade of only degree holders, and virtually they have been completely disconnected with the requirement of the industries. And as SHM, they have put it, that 2023 for 16 lakhs of students, every year they are appearing for the G exam. And normally 10 to 12 lakh students, they get entry into engineering stream. Another 5 lakhs, they get entry into management stream. It's 17, 20 lakhs of students. So adding every year for the higher education, being today it is 37 million students are there enrolled at the higher education. The understanding report says that by 2030, 140 million students, they will be joining the higher education. Because now, in the age, our target of age bracket of 18 to 25 years, some 15 crores youngsters are there. If we extend it to 35 years, another 27 crores will be added. Total 42 crores are almost say, expecting to get the higher education. As the 60% of our population in India, that is a young population, and median being the 29 years. So really, this is really a challenge that we are really with 1,000 plus universities, 42,000 colleges. We have been in so many all faculty members, but virtually whether we have been able to really serve the purpose for all these huge edifices has been erected, that's really a challenge. Then here actually some two aspects are there. One, our academic dispensation is completely disconnected of the real requirement of the security. And the second, on the part of the students also, that much seriousness, the value is missing. Because the value, unless and until the value addition is a value proposition added in the education. Because they simply have come here. The normal question whenever I go for, say, any induction program, I ask you, raise your hands, how many have come for getting the degree? So automatically so many hands, yes, they start getting raised up. Then I told them, you are not here, you are not fit for continuing the study, because here we will not give you degree unless until you deserve it. But then how far we have been able to really substantiate it? That's really a problem. And
Yeah.
then so many other reasons are there which really
we'll discuss later. Thank you so much, sir. And very rightly said, the two most important challenges are, one is that the gap which exists, the values system has to be created, and secondly is the disconnect that there is between the curriculum and the real life expectations, that we are churning out photocopies of the same kind of category of students. Thank you so much. Over to you, Maheshwar Chaitanya ji. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I'll just start from where Dr. Devendra Pathak stopped. One is certainly, he rightly pointed the value system, because the technology is growing just like anything, and it has become a part and parcel of our life. And how is it possible for us to inculcate those values or along with the curriculum, along with the teaching? How is it possible for us to make sure that the values are also imparted across the higher education sector? The second thing is from a professional point of view. If you look from the career point of view, how far are they skilled, or what is the type of skill we are able to impart? So basically, it has to start from the school itself, because now that NEP is also coming up, they have started rolling out the NEP, and what is expected in the higher education sector. The most important thing is the students who are able to solve the problems, students who are able to think from a critical point of view. I always cite one best example. I'm sure that Priyanka ma'am would know. The way in which the exam was conducted last year, the way in which the JEE mains and CBSE exams were conducted last year, the kind of preparations the school principals had to take. Basically, that was a problem-solving skill, right? From thinking from different dimensions, thinking from different perspective, and putting down a solution with the help of technology. So we had to remove all this paperwork and we made it paperless. So how is it possible for the undergrad students to become problem solvers? And that has to happen rightly from the school level. So combined with the skills for the career and life and value system, using the technology effectively and not misusing the technology, these two components are very, very critical for the future. And especially this is the right opportunity to inculcate. At the same time, we are facing challenges also. So that is my take on this, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I think very rightly, because the underlying theme that is coming up with this is that two things hold importance, which is skills and values. And skill, the required skills that are required by a 21st century student, and a value system that has to be started, nurturing the students with the value system from the school itself. Now, over to you, Ms. Priyanka, and I would want you to build upon where Chaitanya ji left, because this is something really relevant, and the whole conversation has come so beautifully weaved around to have come to you. Yes.
Yes, I'm so grateful to Dr. Pathak and Dr. Brother Chaitanya out here. He's already set the road for me to walk on, so to speak. Yes, and especially because Chaitanya sir brought in the element of critical thinking and thinking skills out there, because that is the need of the hour. So when I'm looking into it from the perspective of schools and students who come to us at 3+ and are almost 18 by the time they're entering into college out there, we get a wider spectrum of time and a wider spaces of age that the students are going through. So flexibility and control in school level are much higher. So school education becomes very important for success of higher education. At higher education stage, the faculty have huge width of curriculum and out there, like in our 10th and 12th, what we have the board exams and the result to take care of. So to take classes per se on value or to integrate them out there will be a very tall order. If it is already done and students come who have very high goals on citizenship, very high levels of critical thinking and problem solving and applying knowledge into real life, 90% of the work is already done. So first thing that I bring to the takeaway is two things that I'm going to talk about. At a secondary level, we have to make our students independent learners, and they have to look at the interconnectedness of things out there. If they're seeing something in the book, they have to make connections with the real world. If they look at themselves as an individual, they also have to train themselves as good team players so that they are able to contribute not just to their colleges, to their projects, but to the community as a whole. The next part that I would like to share is that there is a cost to everything and resources are there. So schools have to play a very strong role, and with NEP, talking about genius and talent identification and prodigies out there, because up till now, if you look into education, it is working on remediation. It is working on, need basis, not that long vision balance with short sighted. So we have to balance the two out there. So talent identification has to happen at school level with the school teachers and parents working together, that this child is a genius in this. Let's send them over to higher education here, not just fixated on certain careers because they're drawing or in the newspaper or news drawing TRPs by the kind of salary packages they are drawing, because in the next 10 years the kind of salary packages and jobs are going to change. The whole demography is going to change out there. So we have to make at school level our secondary learners lifelong learners. They are going to be in higher education and they will change their careers or grow in their careers at least 6 to 7 times. They will have to learn always, not just at higher education level out there. So they have to be taught how to learn on their own. And those are the skills that I'm talking about. If we give these two things to our students at school level, I'm sure higher education will create a wonderful success story, which is globally renowned. So the bridge between school and colleges has to be strong there.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Priyanka, and for bridging this gap and giving the kind of a roadmap to the schools that before you hand over the students to universities, you please ensure, work upon their creating interconnectedness between the curriculum and the real life, and also very important, making them independent learners. I think this round went so beautifully and it was very smooth and seamlessly done round. Thank you so much. Moving on to our second segment, where each panelist gets about one or two questions, depending upon the time. I move on to Dr. Pathak. Sir, the need to enhance employability of graduates, because that's what national education policy is also talking about, that, creating individuals and creating employability structure of graduates is an entry point for collaboration of enterprise education and entrepreneurship, links with industry, research skills, and wide range of, transferable skills, which is also communication or English, I would probably say, when they go out in the industry. So the emerging interests of Indian higher education and institutions in the vocational skills market provide areas for potential engagement with international partners. This is something which is happening a lot. Can you suggest ways in which higher educational institutions can foster learners who are ready to face these real lives, so that it doesn't happen that in school also they are studying textbooks, and so education is not just about studying textbooks and passing exams. What is that different thing that universities need to look at to create employability and create that interconnected? Ji, sir.
Here, ma'am, two things I foresee. One, very rightly, Priyanka ma'am has told, you have seized the feeder line for the higher education. If the foundation is weak, the building will be weak. And the entire blame, if at all, is to be shared for the all lot in the higher education. It is all our curriculum. The curriculum really needs a drastic change, a complete reorientation, re-engineering, redesigning, rewriting, recasting. And this recasting, rewriting, it has to be in tune with the requirement of the, say, this one, the industry or the society. That's why now the UGC and the other higher body of the NP also 2020 they get provision now that in the while say preparing the curriculum, we will have to take into consideration the local needs, the regional needs, the state needs, the national needs. So what are really the things? Not that simply we have been teaching all those old things, stories which are redundant, which are obsolete, that really will not have any application at all. So the real thing is a one, say, massive or really a fundamental change in the curriculum, existing curriculum, number one. Number two, the fostering the social orientation or mindset of the students. The students, they are now self-centered. They want to get a job. That is the ultimate aim of the student. So they actually, in our, say, in the Wharton School in Philadelphia, there is a social service which is a compulsory service. Just ma'am, I referred about the vocational training. Now the National Skill Vocational Training Corporation set up by Government of India, they have made a very right thing that you are working certain number of hours in a factory and that you are getting an expertise and then you are bringing a certificate, that much credit will be added and that will be equivalent to grade level or say diploma level. So these things have to come so that instead of simply going through all the theories and other things, he really gets a skill which is useful. And the only very structure of our higher education now we are having, say, 42,000 colleges. You just think of the diploma polytechnics. They are hardly 2,000, 3,000. Whereas ma'am has very correctly told those who are not really efficient, why should they be asked to go only to the higher education? Everybody is MA or MTech or something. But of what use? So they actually, so number of the polytechnics, that should show our entire this curve itself. The tower itself is in a different fashion. There should be more number of polytechnic. Then there should be other graduation college and the higher education that will be less and less. Now the maximum number of institutes are higher only, and practically they are disoriented. They don't have any. So inclusion of all the requirements of the industry that will have to be brought in this way. We say transition from teaching to learning, that has to be ensured. And the pedagogy we are telling, peda means child, and goji means method of teaching. We need an andragogy, because we in the higher education, we are teaching not the child, we are teaching the elders, youngsters, and who are really now there, they will be going and they will be serving the society. So these things, unless and until these are bridged, the industry and academia gap is bridged, ma'am has rightly as pointed out. So probably the education will remain worthless, meaningless, and will not serve the purpose for which really it is meant.
Thank you so much. But I want to, we have two panelists from the higher ed and one we have from the schools. So my question is, we are so much talking today about values. Weren't they always there? Were we waiting for an NEP to tell us that, listen, we need to now start working on life skills, we need to start. We are talking about there is a lot of gap. Who was stopping us from doing that? Why were the schools not doing? Why were the higher eds not? So I'm sorry, the question was, I was very tempted. So much of talk about value system. We do see crisis in the value system and social crisis. Schools have always been talking about high value. Just a bite from each one of you on this. I'm sure the parents would be willing to know that was it NEP should have come then decades back. Yes, sir.
1 minute or less than a minute. Unless until our schools of the higher students, they are linked to the society. In the COVID time also, how many students they have gone and really then helped the society, to the needy, even for feeding them who were needing the food. So how values will come? Unless until we respect, we know the problems, the distress and anxiety of others. That's why the emotional quotient of a student has to be stronger than the intelligent quotient or the physical quotient.
That means schools were not doing justice to it. Yes, Priyanka ma'am. That simply means schools were not.
I think what, sir, I would like to take it.
Man, the schools are better than our higher education. Schools really, they only are giving some values. And once they come there, to just like Reliance Kadro Dunya Mukhim hai. Nothing. There's nobody there to check them. And
yes, Priyanka, very briefly. Yes, sir. We've heard you now, Priyanka, very briefly. Yes.
I would like to take it that sir has again honored the that schooling is very important. He doesn't mean that we have not been doing the task out here. Only thing is we have to realize that values are caught, they are not taught. The students who are coming to us live in an ecosystem. There is a home, there is a school, and there is a community. Now, as there are certain values which are universal values, respect for parents, teachers, and giving back to the environment that you are in is universal. This was there at the time of Ramayana. It's going to be there 100 years from now, even when we are habitating colonies on Mars or Jupiter or whatever is going to happen there. But certain values are contextual values also, like at a given point of time in history, maybe ladies were highly protected because there were lots of wars going on. So the gentry which was fighting the war out there, they are taking care of future generation, that you take care of the home and I'll fight the war and come back to you. But now the woman is there who's a fighter pilot as well. That does not mean that our value system has gone down the drain out there. It means that we are geared up to face up the challenges of the present time. Now the good part is that we are not aping what is happening in XYZ place unnecessarily. We are looking at ourselves, and India has now that sufficient level of maturity and awakening in the present generation that what has to be valued through time, a United States or a United Kingdom need not tell us. We are very strong in our family values out there. We can teach that to the whole world. Yes.
Very true, very true. Thank you so much. I think where we were, like, my take is that where we were lacking was that in schools the values and life skills were somewhere segregated to a moral science period or a zero. Now we are trying to integrate
in all subjects.
Yes.
Very rightly put, across all subjects in the life in school itself. Yes. When you walk into the corridor, you look at a teacher, you should be learning from a teacher how to behave.
Yeah. Thank you, Priyanka ma'am. Thank you. Moving on to it was a very nice discussion and I was very tempted to take it up. Moving on to our next question and next panelist. Chaitanya ji, now if we look at the statistics from post-independent, from where we started with 20 universities to probably now we have say about 1,000 universities and 40,000 colleges or even more. These are the statistics that I got from 2019. Now, last decades, we've seen that somewhere the government has taken, I wouldn't say a step back from its role, but government's primary funding only goes to union, central universities and state universities. Now, these private universities, which have mushroomed and which are major contributors of expansion of higher education, we see their expenditures are very high, and their dependence is on student fee. Now again, student fee depends upon what is that background, where the student comes from, how much they are able to. So those are some of the challenges which I was reading, and now we see that, yes, what measures should you suggest should be taken to probably strengthen this kind of public-private partnership, where probably the government proactively comes forward and become a stakeholder with private universities. And what are those measures? What is we would like to? Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. It is a really nice question. And it is one of the important challenges faced by universities. For example, recently I have seen that the funding from the government has come down. It is partially maybe because you use the right word, that mushrooming of institutions. where we saw that a large number of the students coming out from these engineering colleges, they are not employable. And if you look at the news in the past maybe 2 years time, we have seen that a lot of colleges have been closed. And now those regulatory authorities like AICTE and UGC, they are very strict on saying that if you don't have this much of enrollment in the past 2 years time, they have to close it down. They have to close down the department. And the fundamental fact is that the students who are coming out from the colleges, naturally they have to depend on the industry. Because whatever, see, from a parent's point of view, there is something called as return of investment. For example, if a parent is investing on a student or on his child for BTech program, maybe he will end up with spending lakhs. And what is the time that he can get it back? And it depends on the placement offered by the university. And the placement will happen only if the students are skilled. Because there was a day, there were times when Infosys, TCS and CTS, they used to come and they used to just recruit the students like anything, maybe mass recruitment. We used to call mass recruitment, but now it is not happening. The companies are so choosy that they will go through each and every candidate, every student, to make sure that they are able to solve the problems given by the companies. So that makes it very, very important that the student, the output, when you, Priyanka was talking about the input. So the school gives us the input for the higher education sector. The school is giving the input, and higher education sector is giving the output to the industry. So finally they go to industry. And let me just ask a critical question. How many of our students are willing to become teachers? Because we find we find it very hard to recruit very good candidates for teaching, because the reputation of an educational institution will ultimately depend on the teaching faculty, right? The faculty is the core. And what if all the students are moving to the industry? What will happen to the education sector? And how can we nurture the talent of the teaching skills? So that is very crucial. So what happens is, these universities, of course, Amrita is also an example. Amrita or any premier institution in the country, they will have to depend on the industry only, because ultimately their products are taken by the industry, and we have to make sure that the students are skilled enough to get recruited, and then only the parents are happy, then only the students are happy, then only we will get more and more students joining the institution. So ultimately it is a partnership between the industry and the academia. So we already have a separate department set up. And how we inculcate those values. So when we come to the values, we have to first teach at least the basic manners, the basic ethics, the basic principles. So that is very crucial now. So even these values are also taken into consideration by the industry. When you look at an organization, nobody would want students who create problems for them, right? So how is it possible to integrate both this, that skill as well as the values? Both has to be integrated. And the biggest challenge faced by the institutions is getting the best faculty naturally to teach. And the partnership can evolve only if there is an industry support. And even if there is no government support, these institutions can survive only with the help of the industrial support, because ultimately the products are going back to the industry. So that is very, very crucial. When you talk about the private-public partnership, we have to have industry, because I know some of the projects which we have done that has been taken by the companies like L&T, TCS or Infosys, and that is part of our research output. So how far are we able to solve the problems in society with the help of the students, with the involvement of the students? And those students are taken by the industry. So we can draft a curriculum, and of course the government is giving enough freedom in terms of institutional eminence or NAC A+ grade. So those accreditation agencies will make sure that some autonomy is given to the university, and that autonomy will help the institutions to craft a syllabus for the industry and train the students accordingly so that they are placed. So academia and industry partnership is very, very crucial. That is the need of the hour.
Yes, sir. Very well said, that academia and industry partnership. I just last few months or maybe a year, I got to know about, that was like I got to know about 3 universities which closed down. Reason being, students were unable to pay the fees. University was unable to pay the salaries, and finally, and students, these were some of them tier 1, tier 2, basically. The parents chose that the child should get into some work rather than be engaged in. Where does and how could the government, like closing of universities is not a very, happy picture that emerged. Here we were, quoting the statistics that so many universities and all, but the reality of last a year was this, and it wasn't just due to pandemic. There was some other reason to it. So here, what role could governments have played, or what should have been played, or what happened to those students who chose to drop out? That's a very big question. That's a very big challenge, you see. So I think both of you can address, even sir can. Yes, sir.
I'll just make a small point. The first thing is the employability of these children who are passing out, and not have the tendency to join the institution. Second is the authorities are really strict now. It is not just possible to get an approval for an institution just like that, as it was before. Now that even for us, we found it very hard, and we have to go through two sections where with all this infrastructure, still there were a lot of questions and queries that were pointed by the accreditation authorities, which is really good only. I'm saying that I'm not saying that it's critically saying, but it has to be there on place to make sure that the future generation is safe, and the future generation, the life of the future generation, the career of the future generation is secured. So these things are very important. Facilities and the faculty, it has to be intact, without which an institution should not function. So that is my take on it, ma'am.
Right. And sir, very quickly, if I could have a bite from you on this is very pertinent.
In the past 2-3 years, Rajasthan alone, 168 engineering colleges have been closed. As you was telling, your brother was telling, this all those colleges which are not able to get at least 30% of their sanctioned seats, they have been asked by AICT to close. Then why closure? Why the students are not coming to? The main reason is quality. And for that, what is the deficiency of quality? Because they are having the faculty who themselves are really not that much qualified, getting some 20,000, 15,000 or 10,000 rupees. And that's why they were not able to deliver. And the students also, the guardian had to withdraw. And the students next year, at least 1 year, the students came, and next year students didn't come. So this syndrome really has been posing a big threat for this matter. Only those will survive. So the Charles Darwin survival of the fittest, that once again really will come into play. So the quality has to be seen. And the other point, earlier, 1 minute I will tell you, the private university now 60% of the total students who are in the higher education, that is being catered by only private university. Total out of 1,040 or 1,000 odd universities, some 360 universities are there which are in private sector. All central university, the state university, deemed to university, center of excellence given the status of university. But the new education policy, we are pinning some hope that definitely things will change. There will be a shift, paradigm shift, because now the multidisciplinary education, that is now one thing that is coming. A student will have the choice to go for a vocational course or any other course. Number two, now only 3 types of universities will be there. One will be a completely purely a research university. They will not be teaching university. Only few students will be there, will be doing the research. Number two, universities like this, where the teaching and plus some research also will be there. And the third is only teaching. But one very disturbing aspect, that is NEP, that also is a part of it. Within a period of 15 years, all those 40,000 colleges, they all will be given the autonomy to grant degree on their own. Now itself, out of 1,000 universities that we are having, or at least 360 private universities, I can tell you more than 70% of the university, they are simply avoiding fake degrees. They are just in the business of issuing degrees. So students are holding only the receipt for the payment that and that they are getting degree. So this is being trained. If those colleges also they will have right to grant their own degree, they will be billing from the university. Now at least there is a check by the ICT or by the university to which it is linked. But if these things, but this is the time another 15 years they have given. So ultimately, it boils down that the faculty and the quality of the teaching. These two things are very, very essential. Now, if most of the owners, they have made a huge building. They just want to attract the students by showing this is our gym, this is our canteen, this is other facilities. And the students, they get allured and the comforts that they are providing in the hostel, that you can go and come anytime you like. So these things are not going to matter. Thanks now to pandemic, that now the online teaching has come. So now all those huge structures are not going to come to any use. Finally, only quality only that will be there.
Thank you so much, sir. So if I sum up these arguments, so as Chaitanya ji said that there has to be a partnership between academia and industry so that we can have employability. And as you said, quality teaching. And as Ms. Priyanka said, that, everybody need not go to higher ed, there could be vacation. So somewhere the pressure on the universities will be less and they will not just be passing out with a degree, but they will have some kind of employability. And alternatively, we can have more of vocational institutes mushrooming instead of just everybody going to the higher end. Thank you so much. Moving on to Ms. Priyanka. Undergrad admission, everybody is these days talking about the admission process, and our last episode was based on it. Undergrad admission is the most important step when it comes to choosing career path in a student's life. So the decision making requires in-depth research, and sometimes the parents start that research from, say, class 8 and 9 onwards, engaging into, and all that depends upon, what are the opportunities available, then the interest, the ability, and the aptitude. So, and it's very difficult at the that adolescent stage to, with so much of rich menu on the platter, to not get enticed to all the offerings that are there on the menu. How do you support students, and what challenges you foresee in helping students choose a higher ed institution and obviously a course as well? Because everybody probably wants to go to a St. Stephen's or to an Oxford. So how would you, and what will be your message to the students of class 12?
This is very easy because we are already doing it since the last 5 years. I wouldn't just start from the students, I would start from the parents first out there, because now the preparation for higher education, we have brought it down to 6th level, grade 6. The parents should set up a corpus fund for their children for higher education, because higher education is set to grow expensive. Maybe when we were in college, the fee tag was in a couple of thousands out here, but now for quality undergraduate courses, we have fees in lakhs. And if you are talking about Ivy League, a post-graduation or even a higher study, it may come into a crore as well. Yes, so we have to have parents who start saving early, so a child's future does not suffer because they do not have the funds to pay the fee. It can easily be done. Compounding will help out there, so they have to invest in education. One, this. Now the portfolio building of the child starts that we give multiple pathways to children in the school, opportunities to try out this and that, not just to succeed that you have to come out first, try it out. So at least the child knows, the self-awareness, the parent and the teachers know this is what the child is strong at. If they don't have an opportunity to try, you can't just make guesswork. You cannot give careers and undergraduate references just by saying that I thought so it would be good out there. It has to be based on proven competencies. Aptitude and attitude will come into it. So the portfolios and teachers and guidance and career department like our school has, with an expert psychologist out there and counselors and teachers out there working together, we need to map student achievements out there. 8th onwards, we need to give them them exposure to universities and what kinds of courses are available and what kind of careers get attached with that, and let the students start to experience in internships. We strongly advocate internships in workplaces so students find out what they do. I'll just give an example, like maybe children who are looking at a medical field, they go and visit a hospital, see what a doctor does the whole day, or a student who aspires to be an engineer because they're commanding a heavy salary, see what an engineer has to do in a given day. Does that subscribe to their own personality? And if they know it, then the hit and trial will come back and reduce much more, because we are also noticing at higher education, when as schools we are monitoring, at first year level there are a lot of casualties happening, students not choosing the right stream, student dropping years at that point of time, and that sheer wastage happening. A year lost is 1 year of productivity lost at the workspace. Now look at a person who retires with maybe 40 years of work life and another who's retiring at 39 years. The last year, the highest of exalted life, we have lost out of that student. So we need to preserve that. So we are going to talk with them, we are going to deliberate with them, we give them opportunities to. And the major challenge is when anybody makes a fixed mindset and do not keep themselves open to ideas. Okay, it may not be that as Stephens you've not managed to make because your 1 mark was less than and you did not have the 99%, but there are equally hundreds of fantastic colleges who are willing to take you at 98%. Go use that opportunity. It's not the end of the world. We have found time and again, average students do fantastically well in their life because they know how to balance their work and life. It is not just going to be study all the time. It is not just going to be pleasure all the time. We have to teach our students to balance the two. Second choices work out fantastically in so many ways out there, even in college admissions and even in careers and even in relationships. Maybe, you like somebody and you're not able to have them in your life partner. That's not the end of the world. A better person is going to come into your life who's just right for you. So be open to opportunities, be aware and ready to grab them when they come. So that's what we train our students into, being very flexible. We have to be opportunists there. That over here, okay, this college has a closed admission, but here the merit criteria has fallen down by 5%. Let me take the admission there. This is a fantastic college for the course I want to do. And then believe that that's the right college for you once you take admission, because dreaming about other things and not belonging into your present out here, you're going to waste your energies out there. So we tell our students that if you are in our school, our school is the best school for you and your teacher is the best school for you. When you go into college and you've taken admission, make peace with that. It's like marriage. You might see a lot of girls or boys before marriage, but you marry only one person and you have to live happily with that person then. Yes, in case of career. So that relationship and that common sense has to be very strongly practiced by the parents and the students and by educational communities then.
Thank you so much, Priyanka, for giving us such a beautiful example. And I'm sure students will understand that, there is no dearth of opportunity. You need to believe, and you should not have a mental block of what that the college or the university that they have. Ultimately, it is the course of your choice that is important. Moving on to Chaitanya ji, my next question to you is that we see there is a lot of investment and a lot is being done when we talk about research and development, when we find countries like United States, China, South Korea have invested huge in research to build a skilled, productive and flexible, youth. Higher eds in India, in contrast, lack this. What they are, the pattern that they were following in school, they follow in colleges as well. Now we are talking about, yes, the partnership between academia and industry that you're talking about, and the internships model that Ms. Priyanka is talking about. How can universities step into this remodeled role seamlessly? That how can there be a nice, happy amalgamation between one, that research, two, that hands-on learning experience, because then that will also ensure less dropouts, more value in terms of, the degrees will be more valued, and it would not be just, as Sir said, churning out a brigade of, graduates who are jobless. Yes, Chaitanya ji.
So I hope it was to me, right, ma'am? The voice
Yes.
was in between. Okay.
Yes. I hope you heard the question. Yeah.
So basically, research is ultimately dependent on how far we are able to nurture the skills of these students. Unless otherwise the student has that problem solving skill and critical thinking skill, research is ultimately solving a problem, right? They're solving a problem, thinking from different dimensions.
Right.
You have told is correct. It is very, very important for any other country, like any other country. For India is also, it is very important. And we have seen a lot of developments. If you take the past 1.5 years, I believe there are a lot of institutions who have come up with different types of masks, different types of oxygenators, different types of health monitoring systems, different types of platforms to monitor the health, or different platforms to identify where this infection will be more. So there are definitely skills. There are skilled students. In fact, I was replying to one of the chat, the question answer. The CEO of the Microsoft, the CEO of the Google, the top most position in IBM, all those are Indians. So there is no lack of skills. As rightly pointed by Priyanka ma'am, how far are we able to nurture that skill? Even she was talking about the relationships. Now if you look at the companies like Amazon, there is a post called as Chief Well-being Officer. Chief Well-being Officer, Chief Happiness Officer, which we never used to hear during our days. So how is it possible for you to make your people happy, make your employees happy? So these things are very, very important. So when you talk about the research, ultimately it boils down to a situation where each and every teacher, let it be in the higher education or let it be in the school, wherever it is. Now there is a question in the Q&A. Somebody is asking, who is responsible to get the placements and who is responsible to make sure that the skills are identified? See, basically myself and yourself. It is a community. It is not, we cannot throw that responsibility to the government. See, if I'm able to identify my students, the set of students in my class, and if everybody thinks like that, from that point of view, then the nation will be great. Then the education will evolve. Then we will be able to nurture the research mindsets. I'm 100% sure that from a class of 60, at least 5 students will have that mindset. And what is the role which I play to nurture that talent, that skill? And how far am I able to create a thought process in the children's mind, the child's mind? And that has to happen in the classroom lecture or the lecture when you deliver the class. And I strongly believe that NEP will change, because NEP talks a lot about experiential learning, and we have to bring in the social problems inside the classroom, put it in front of the children, make sure that they are coming up with a solution, so that we are able to nurture that research mindset at the school level. That is very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Because, sir, I think you have also answered a question by Ms. Ritu Satija, who says how the implement of NEP is going to change the education system in our country. And I think Ms. Satija, sir has completely answered, because NEP brings in a whole new perspective and there is a paradigm shift in the pedagogy, in the curriculum, which is more connected to 21st century. And we have another question, and I would like to address that question to Dr. Pathak. Will it not be challenging for the system to provide internship courses when there already is a peak in unemployment? And this question is by Ms. Harmanpreet Kaur.
Well, I feel because internship is a ladder which really imparts certain pre-skills which will be required when they go to any factory or any industry or any corporate. The industry, so in our traditional method of teaching also, internship has been a part and parcel of our curriculum. 6 weeks to 8 weeks internship. Say if the 4 years course is there, either we will be sending in the 3rd year, or 2 years course is there, then in the 3rd semester, or after completion of 1.5 year or 1 year. And this is very, very essential, because this is just familiarizing a student with the work culture, of the university, the different work situation, the different work culture, the different other person. So when we are sending somebody to any industry for the internship, then say the supervisor of that concerned industry, he will be in charge. And there will be a supervisor from our college university also. They will be always taking reports from that supervisor to where our students is really coping up, or whether he is displaying interest, or whether really he is learning something. So I feel very internship, it should be rather internship should be further increased. Instead of say 6 weeks of 6 months, that's why now the AICTE also and the new education policy, they have now allowed integrated learning. Integrated learning means 1 year they will say learn the theoretical aspects of the college, and rest 1 year they will go for the internship. And if they are performing performance is well, immediately they will be absorbed also, or at least they will learn something which will be useful to them when they are going to face any interview or to any company. So the internship has to be further rather extended, or it has to be further say elaborated, so that this one they whatever they really learn. Now many of the institutes now, say supposing some 1 year, they have 1 month, they have taken certain classes covering some 1 or 2 units. Concerning with that unit, they will be sending say pharmaceutical student, they will be sending to any pharmaceutical manufacturing company, by which all the formulations, all the chemicals and all the types of things, how they are really manufactured and what is the chemical reaction, they will be, instead of doing the practical. Unfortunately now we say everything is blocked now. We are not able to send the students, and virtual augmented and virtual reality really is not helping to that extent, and our students are really not getting that benefit. But still, so these things are there when the situation returns to normalcy. Or now, so we will have to resort to our AR and VR, and then that practical aspect also will have to go online. That we have been going also online. And wherever the time permits, where we will go them to really physically also go with the exercise. So this is a part of training, and this part of training, it is a practical thing that they have learned in the classroom. That implementation, that part a student he learns once he goes to the sort of training.
I think Harman Kaur would have got the answer, and I completely resonate Sir's thought. One question, Chaitanya ji, I want to address this to you, because we were discussing before the webinar started that the challenges faced by this question is by Ruchika Sharma. Challenges faced by students in opting for future courses after 12th during pandemic. And, we keep talking about in all our webinars that, we don't even know what are the kind of courses or what kind of jobs will be created maybe 2 years ahead. So what would your suggestion be, considering another year we don't think will be fully functional when it comes to academic institutions, whether it is schools or whether it is colleges? So in this scenario, what are you understand the problems that the students are facing and the way curriculum is being delivered. So could you address this question, please?
Yes, ma'am. See, I have seen a lot of such similar queries, and I think at one point Priyanka ma'am also suggested the same. Basically, the schools need to take some initiative from this end, so that the students are given maximum exposure to the available branches. Because see, I am managing admissions for engineering, and in the past maybe a few years, what I have seen is that the students who join engineering is primarily because of the parental pressure, not because of their own interest. So how is it possible for us in the sense, not as a person from Amrita, from a teacher's point of view, how is it possible for a teacher to make them exposed to maximum possible careers, saying that science students is not, or engineering is not the only option for the science students, or medicine is not the only option for the biology students? How is it possible for us to expose them? And I feel that teachers will play a very critical role, because if I'm a physics teacher, I am expected to know where my student will be after 10 years time, and I have to have that vision. If I'm an English teacher, let us say language and literature, I specialize in language and literature. And what is the current scenario in that domain? And how can I expose that domain to my children, my students in the class? So that plays a very critical role. And there are a lot of organizations, even I have started now doing several career counseling sessions, talking to the students about more and more, possible options if they want to choose. So exposing them to maximum possible technological arena. For example, for a BSc agriculture student, we have agricultural program. BSc agriculture student, they are expected to know that the people who are working in the farmland, they will be replaced by drones. They have to know, because that is how the things are moving now. Even the police officers are using drones, which means that the human engagement is very less, and you get the accurate information on time. So which all are the domains where the technology will be used instead of human beings, and what are the skills required for those people to survive in that sector? And I always mention one example: the toll booth in national highways, and there is no more toll booth, right? Now, one girl asked me, what will happen to those people who were in toll booth? They had to upskill themselves. There is no other option, because the moment you are in a situation where you don't have the information, and some mishap happens, and you don't know where it has happened, how it happened, who is the person behind that. You need all this information. You will have to definitely depend on technology. So that exposure to that skills, exposure to the different programs available in one domain, at that domain, my domain. If I'm a computer science teacher, I'm expected to know. If I'm a physics teacher, mathematics teacher, I'm expected to know. So that has to be responsibility of the teacher. It will not take much of the time. It is just a matter of doing some online search. So that exposure needs to be given, and that alone can help in the long run. Let us not talk about only during pandemic times. As rightly pointed by Priyanka ma'am, let us have a vision. Let us 5 years, 10 years.
So I'll just take this question next to Priyanka ma'am, because I don't want you to spill over the wheel. Now, Ms. Priyanka, to you, Mrs. Mitali Bhattacharya put a very pertinent question. She says, for students who would either go for research or appear for interviews to secure blue chip jobs or opt for self-entrepreneurship, what formula would teachers follow that would be a homogeneous one, where a fair option is given to all students, be they from any caste or class, or even I would say competency? Now, I would recommend you to build upon where Chaitanya ji left. He had started talking about the teacher's role, and that is why I kind of intervened in between, because I wanted you to take up this question, because there's a lot of the teacher's role specifically when it comes to making a student understand and explore life and explore. School teachers' role is much more hands down. I mean, that is their role, is because they're very impressionable at that point of time, the students are. Yes, Priyanka.
All right. Again, thank you. And I thank the wonderful attendee who's put that across, because this is the need of the hour, How do we do justice to all our children? I think at the root of this is there. But we have to understand one thing, that every student is coming from different backgrounds. Context matters, yes? And that cultural context or the family context should become the strength of the child there. It is not a disadvantage there. The family plays a key role. Now, the second part that we have to understand is the teacher teaches judicially to all the children, but each have different absorption powers, registering power. Even in this panel, the audience is there, but the takeaway for every audience member or for every panelist will be different based on our need there. So there is a demand, there is a supply out here, and a tectonic shift is happening. We, the teachers, have to understand, parents have to understand, and students have to understand that when the temperature boils, suddenly the frog jumps out of the water. But when when it boils slowly, they don't realize, and they are not going to take preventive steps there. So those slow changes have been happening since 2 decades. The moment you have digital intervention coming in, anything that can be replaced by machines will be replaced by machines. It will be done efficiently. But the creative part of human beings, the social part of human beings cannot be replaced by machines there. So that is why the role of the wellness or the happiness ambassador in the school or an institution will become very important. But it's not a generalist role, it's a specific role. They will have to know the profile of every living being who's under them, what are their traits, what are their strengths, and what will work from them. So again, I'm coming back here to what we will have to do as teachers. We have to keep a very strong lens, as parents a very strong lens, because our children are our treasures there. We identify talent, we identify their vulnerabilities. Wherever they have the genius, we loop them into those pathways, and those pathways can change. These are changeable pathways because every human being grows differently. Somebody who's done a computer science because they had huge interest in music can go into the music industry, developing apps and part out there, not necessarily be only recruited by TCS or a McKinsey or a Deloitte there. So there is a pathway there. So we have to look into, we are going to move from general to specialist. So the mass will have to recognize the power of the individual, because it's the personal individual who makes a difference to the society, who makes, is that wonderful one Pichai or we are talking about a Steve Jobs or an Abdul Kalam who gives the nation the standard.
Priyanka, you're talking about those. Here the viewer has also said, how will you make justice to people from different
opportunities? Yes, in every class, opportunities have to be given. We don't just pick and choose, and when those opportunities come that you can take part in a debate, the parent says yes, the child says yes. He does not say that I have to prepare for that IIT and that coaching, because it is going to give them the communication skill to qualify the group discussion at an IIM MBA or at a Harvard exam out there. So we have to be ready. The opportunities every teacher gives, but how many students submit their assignments on time? How many students take up for every inter-school competition to participate in? And those who do, they become the path leaders there. So every student gets the opportunity. We have to be ready to lap onto it. Like you are giving a chance to every panelist to answer, and to every person, all those who are in the audience were given the chance to ask a question. How many asked the question? Those who asked have their doubts explained. Yes, so we have to be ready. We have to make our students, very aware human beings. Grab this opportunity, do this, because they have tremendous energies. They can tire us out any day. Let them tire doing things that matter.
Great, thank you so much. I think Dr. Pathak was saying something when I was, Dr. Pathak, is he there or no, I think. So, yes, one last line from you, Chaitanya ji, on the same thing, but very briefly, because we are very short of time. So, one last bite on how can these opportunities be thrown homogeneously to all the students.
Ma'am, could you please repeat once?
So yeah, so the viewer asked this question, that what formula would the teachers follow that would be a homogeneous one, where a fair option is given to all students, be they be from any caste, class. I'm also adding gender here. So yes, and the reality is this, that fair opportunities are not given. So how will you ensure this in these,
I think the maximum possible thing we can do from teachers' side is to expose them to maximum opportunities. See, when we say that, let me give you a controversial example. When we say that this many percentage of seats are to be allocated for the girl students, let us assume that government brings in, or somebody brings in, saying that this many students, this many seats are to be reserved for the girls. We should have that many number of girls in the entrance examination, right? So how can we ensure that that many number of girls are attending that test or taking the test? What is the mechanism for that? Instead of doing that, we are reserving the seats here. So let us not talk about reservation of this. Let us make sure that equivalent to males or equivalent to boys, we are giving the same opportunity, same thing, set of exposure to girls also. And let me tell you, yesterday I got a message from one of the teachers in Cochin in Kerala. She's asking whether a student having physics, chemistry, and biology can pursue artificial intelligence program in higher education. So that girl doesn't have that mathematics, and now she wants to pursue AI, and it is not possible because the criteria is like we need to have mathematics compulsory for the engineering schools. Now what is the opportunity left? They have to undergo some way of getting mathematical skills and let them prove their skills, that they have that mathematical skills to pursue this program. So this is how the education system is currently. It has to change. Unless otherwise the teachers take up the steps, initiatives to get the students exposed. And again, I'll come back to what Priyanka ma'am said. Competitions are very crucial. We have to make them attend competitions, let them taste the failures, let them work in teams, let them bring their talent out, let them exhibit their creativity. So then only we can say that okay, we have achieved something. And then it becomes the responsibility of the student to pursue a degree. It is not imposed on him, because he knows that okay, this is my first option, this is second option, this is the third option. Let it be like that, so that it becomes just like that in the West. In the Western culture, they take their responsibility, and our students are depending on parents and teachers. Rather than imposing the degree on the students, we have to make sure that they are given enough opportunities. And definitely it is the role of the teacher. For example, if it is in higher education, they have to make sure that the higher teachers in higher education are giving the students maximum career opportunities. And in the school level, they have to talk the students about the higher education possibilities. So that is the way it has to be. So yeah, giving them opportunities is very important. For that, the teachers needs to get educated and trained well, and
Yeah.
that's
So what I gauge, yeah. So what I gauge, and from your and Ms. Priyanka's, suggestions is that there exists like a symbiotic relationship where one, the teacher has to give those opportunities, but the student should be receptive, and student should
yeah,
also be
yeah,
ready
yeah,
to, come forward and take part
yeah,
and, walk that extra mile.
yeah.
Thank you so much, all our panelists. And we come to the end of our session. I would just say that universities and colleges are making Herculean efforts to be fair and not penalize students from circumstances beyond their control in this pandemic situation. We've had last three episodes or webisodes on higher education. And so I think from admission processes to challenges to selection of courses, everything would have been very clear to our viewers. Students should keep up with their studies, stay sharp with their skills, and remain optimistic for the future. Hone some life skills, indulge in some courses. We will be back in the next episode with some more interesting insights on National Education Policy 2020 very soon. Don't forget to join us. From bottom of my heart, I thank all the panelists. See you soon. Thank you so much.